this idea that your truth is better than someone else's comes because of individualization of this experience of desire. It comes because Elohim is plural. This is the experience of multiplicity. And it's okay. I spoke to you to ponder that your way of doing things is always better than anyone else's, except that you go on to your life and stuff still affects you. And if normal human things still affects you, you know that you still have yet to accomplish something. And even then, once accomplished, you're in nature. It affects you. Just different interaction, consciously. So while you are affected, you don't exist in the pure state of truth. In the fourth plane, something happened where individuality started to exist because of this illusion of an abyss, because of this mirror-like separation from the above and the below. Okay? Individualization started to exist, but even then, in that sphere, the fourth plane, every single permutation of the one did not think they were separated from the one. And this is the sphere of consciousness, purely as it is, how the soul is conscious, and it is associated with the principle of universal consciousness in a localized fashion. In one nervous system, one point of view, you still have an unbounded level of consciousness. Okay? I'm going to go further on this. The soul did not forget oneness. It simply started to ponder individuality. And that desire on the fifth sphere encouraged that. The same way that the fifth city was a prapti, the ego is born from consciousness. In Sanskrit, the word for ego is ahamkara. Aham is I am, kara is action. Ahamkara, the ego, simply means your ability to have a localized action. That's it. Where's the evil in that? Where's the, oh no, I have such a bad ego? No. Ego is your ability to have an action in a localized fashion, because before ego, at this point, whatever happened was universally happening. Everything, it's the God level, humongous, universal scale type of action. To have localized action, a planet, then an area, then a patch of trees, and then under that you hiding, and then in your own body, each component doing each little things. The ability to have localized actions collaborating together came with the fifth thing. Okay? Like the cities. You know, those like city, another parenthesis. The most refined consciousness, the unicity of all things, the first intensity, garima, and then your focused desire to accomplish. Ego is born for one thing, and there in the sixth, there is the oneness, the binding. There's one consciousness which is Brahma. Okay? And then you have, you know, from this you go into, now there is illusion, and there's only one Lord of illusion, Shiva, and there's one king that rules, Shiva, and then you have the experience of desire at the level of sexual organs, and then Anumimadvam, where you can become immortal. So whoever practices the city path, you see that there's something correspondent in that chart. Okay? It just so happened that great Kabbalist Shimon Bar Yochai observed reality in a certain way that Krishna observed reality and described pretty much the same thing, and offered meditation the same way, pretty much. Yeah, there's one universe. Okay, let's bring it then, the Kabbalist rule and everyone else is wrong. So, oh no, that's right, the point of view, my view is always right, yours wrong, I was telling about this. At that level of consciousness, there's still no separation. There's the one thing of the individualization. There's the possibility of having form. of modulating limits and dimensions. But the idea that every single modulation is still part of the one, and every different being is still completely equal, is still there, that divine consciousness. So at the fourth plane, we have the archangel Tzadkiel, the justice of God. Tzadkiel, equity, justice as the virtue, not as the code of law, if you can sue someone or not, depending on what your lawyer costs you. Not that justice. Okay? The justice that doesn't want to manage the borders of a country if one passes in or out. The justice that does not declare one to be faulty or right. The justice of pure equity, like God intended it, to make sure that everyone has an equal experience of the whole, even while they are individualized. Tzadkiel. Okay? And in the tsa, there's a penetrating power, tsa, of setting things right. And what is it setting? What is the tsa setting right? It is the di, the tsad. It is putting the shapes in place correctly. Okay? So in the bija style, the Aleph Bet style syllable explanation, tsad is to affect form, to cause them to be equal. Okay? It is to go and manage. That's the management. Sad is the management of what? What is the management of which form of actions? K, sad, k, ki. Okay? The letter K is provoke. You know kama, the K of kama, of kara, of karma, okay, of karun. This K of doing something. Okay. So actions are managed by a exact square form where everything is equal. That is tzaddik. That's the experience of tzaddik. Okay? And that experience comes and becomes tzadkiel, the incarnation of that intelligence of God in the universe. So tzadkiel, tzedek means justice. This tzedek is justice. It's the word justice in the dictionary. Okay? Tzedek is to go and take care. So this would be there. Okay? But there is a way to go about it which will be perfectly equal for all. So you have these inspiration inside that we need rights to make sure that the animal nature will not abuse, okay, to try to keep a sense of equality in all things. Now I'm talking at a level very intellectual, so you think in your mind in human terms. Now please, the same way that from the human emotional experience of love, you elevate yourself in a subtle, hard-to-define emblazement of the soul. Now take this intellectual interpretation of equity, which is charity. Charity is distributing the goods for everyone to have the same thing. Now it goes to your fundamental sense of existence. Elevate in that hard-to-define feeling of pure existing as equal, and even pure existing in consciousness as the same. Me and you, we're the same. We're not just equal, we're exactly the same thing. It is beyond the separated manifestation to say if there are 2 apples there and 2 apples there, they have the same amount. We're not talking about this equity. We're talking about the equity that the 2 apples there and the 2 apples there are only one thing, which is 4 apples. And only through illusion, because we would say it's apples without the calculation of comparison. Okay? Oh, that's not so obvious to inspire, but I think you can get it. Tzadkiel is this power that made sure everything was set correctly. Everything is right. And it is this very subtle inspiration when you differentiate what is right or wrong from just a feeling. And that feeling is, I think if we do this, there will be suffering. I think if we do this, there will be happiness. How about we do the thing that will bring about happiness? Okay? So Tzadkiel, in the same way that in the 7 Haniel, you had this experience to, just rejoice and it's okay to enjoy. There is this enjoyment at the level of the soul also, which is not rejoice of resources, it is be happy you are existing. Okay? It's that same type of rejoicing. And that is how, when we abuse of that rejoicement, here, when we don't have charity, and the fact that Haniel is just enjoying life in every possible way, we eventually could fall in luxury if we do not have the virtuous mind state. Well, at this level, if we appreciate every concept that God allowed us to feel, if we appreciate the emotions and the well-being, everything, we will start to have envy. Okay? We'll start to say, oh, I want to be more important. And you have all this importance that a judge eventually gets, feeling more important. No? Whoever sets things right have a feeling of self-importance. Okay? Because this is the highest way, and the words self-important are so bad words to describe the true nature of what it is, but it's the only human words I have to really describe. So this is the primordial feeling of importance, of what really matters. Okay? And once we took this in separation, there was self-importance. And once self-importance got even deeper in separation, it was superiority and arrogance and feeling that whatever other people are suffering, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Okay? I'll take care of myself. So in envy is if someone else has a joy, I want that joy to the point of taking it from them. Because it keeps this feeling that God had, everything that exists is mine. But there was just one consciousness. Of course, everything existed was God's. It was the only thing that had anything. It created that. Now you take that feeling, everything that exists in the universe belongs to God. You take this feeling and you localize it in a single human, and you have everything that exists is mine as a single individual. And that is the first cause of separation. Okay? To be in a sense of justice, you need to remember everything that exists belongs to God. So your car was never yours. Your body is not yours. Your mind, your ability to think, your dearest dramatic emotions you hold dear so much belong to God. Give it back to Him. So easy. Surrender. This principle of divine justice goes way beyond the human understanding of management, of who has authority or not. Divine justice is to remember that everything belongs to God, and whoever partakes of some richness or some level of importance, of some kind of level of attention, it should be equal for everyone. And everyone should receive the grace of God in the same equanimity, the same equity, perfectly, the same way. But since we have all different point of views of that experience of oneness, since each of us are a different incarnation of the divine state, we each have something different that we desire, that we will want to experiment. So equity is not for everyone to have an apple. It is for those who want apples to have them, and for those who want pears to have them, and those who want this and that to have them, you know? So that brings a complication of resource management for the humans to say, well, there's only that much of that resource and that many people who want it, so how can you, you know? And then we become humans and complicated. Take what's available, and if the moment you tasted it, and make sure everyone else who wants it has it. Okay? So it really looks like this experience. It's inspired. Okay? It's inspired. I went through this aspect, the four lower one, to help you grasp a higher idea of this level of the fourth plane of consciousness. In Tzadkiel, justice is equity. The same that charity is for everyone to have. Justice is equity in your existence. So we're not talking of resources and apples and pears anymore. We're talking about the existential rights, the feeling loved and the loving of others. Does that inspire divine justice? Does that help you take away from your mind this human justice of who has the bigger sword to impose to the other his laws? Napoleon said that he loved this justice system because no one is exempt to being hanged. There are so many intricate, complex, labyrinth-style laws that whoever you want to hang, you could just find a way. Look at him live and find a way. There's always something, because you can't be completely off in justice in a human terms. And our justice is inspired from Napoleon, is it?
Yes.
Napoleon is the guy that built our system that all the Occident is based on. Okay? Divine justice is not human justice. So let us take an example of human justice. Human justice is those who said, this belongs to me, you can't have it. That's not divine justice. That's human justice. That means I have a fist powered by muscles that can hurt you more than your fist can hit me. So justice is I keep my stuff. It's the law of the jungle. You know, human justice is the law of the jungle, refined with intellectualism. Okay? It still starts with the management of resources. It still starts with political and economic power at the top of the human hierarchy that are managing wealth. And this is where human justice starts. It starts with corporations and the powers. Divine justice has nothing to do about that. Divine justice is universal, therefore it is applied small scale, with you and the neighbor, with you and someone that you know or not, at a very localized way of saying this is worth the entire universe also, and let's treat it equally. Okay? Now it's important to make a parenthesis on the concept of revolution. If you want divine justice to overrule human justice, a revolution is a very bad idea. Revolution is still confirming the law of the jungle. If you don't agree with your government because they do this or they do that, it means that you're still stuck with a point of view and you still yearn for something you cannot have out of the desire of luxury or greed or envy. So people gathering around with cardboards when everyone is fed, everyone has clothing, everyone has a roof, and their health is not threatened short term and hopefully not long term. Why revolt? To prove what? A revolution is useful when the government is slowly killing the people. Okay? That's not cool. But a revolution in North America, in Europe, in countries that are trying their best at least to feed the people, because now there's a new trend in politics that was developed by Julius Caesar. Bread and games. Feed your people and entertain them. Okay? They won't revolt. And actually that was pretty wise. It looks like manipulation. Actually it's doing exactly what God was supposed to do, what told politicians to do, is bring them food and find a way that they'll be happy. Okay? And the Taoists say something like that most materialist people don't like. Fill the stomach of your people and empty their minds of ambitions. If someone is ambitious, it's good. If their ambition is to become the new president, the new lord, that causes war. Make sure that the human animal has resources, that his life doesn't feel threatened, and he's not going to have this drive to overthrow a power. But then again, why would he, since everyone is fed and lodged and clothed? You understand? So everything above that is just political sandbox level playground for people who want to be divinities while they're just enslaved to egocentric needs. Okay? All the big money game and business, it doesn't matter. Let them play. They want you to pay income taxes, give it to them so they can have their experience. I'm so happy to pay my income taxes. It's not resent. In French, ressentir is not resentment. It's I feel. I feel joy when I pay my income taxes. Why? Because they put the asphalt on the street so I can roam on that. Because they bring water to me in certain ways, even though sometimes I still have to pay the bottle. They found a way. Because if I dial 911, someone will come and take care of us. And I've done it so far, and it works. In the past. You know, sometimes happens. So, paying your income taxes is responsible. It is responsible. You just pay for the services you have. But they're screwing around and there's scandals and people stealing money. Yes, yes, of course, we can outline those, but it's so minute. It's so nothing. The scandals, seriously, are nothing compared to the billions, Googleians of dollars that flow in hand to hand every day. Someone stole $1 million. Well, that's nothing in the ocean of all the money well spent. Think about it. Think about the extraordinary amount of money that goes into social services. Because, just look, I mean, these hospitals are filled with staff. And the fire department is filled with people ready to go help you if you're gonna burn. And prevent burning a house to burn the entire area, you know? What was that? Yeah, the neighborhood. Thank you. So, all these firefighters, I mean, an awful lot of money goes into their salaries. So if one guy somewhere stole $1 million, that's nothing compared to the awful amount of money that is well spent. But you, as a human ego filled with envy and greed, you don't even dare look at yourself. And you have to say, look, he is greedy. It's so awful. And you feel betrayed. While in fact, it's like if he affected a hair on the head. Oh. Now, there are other countries where the people are whipped, fed mildly every day, living in poor conditions, to which we do not give good healthcare system, to which whoever would try to express creativity would be beaten up. Now please, little arrogant North American and Europeans, could you stop being so arrogant and childish to complain about your little governmental situation? Don't revolt, don't even move a hair, and say thank you. Thank you, because 300 years ago, it was the entire planet that was at war. 300 years ago, the whole of the world, a clan towards a clan, a church with a church, a village to another, and when it grew bigger, was nation to another nation, but the world was completely at war throughout the entire history of mankind. For the last 65,000 years, where men started to behave like men, they have been at war. And the last 200 or 300 years, we shrunk down that to about maybe a third of the planet at war. That is extraordinary! Why are you complaining? Okay, so you see what I'm talking about? That's the Tzadkiel point of view. Okay, that's this conscious level point of view. Pure objectivity. We are in an era of freedom. Compared to what you want to complain because you want more, because you have a certain level of wealth and you want more with less effort, because you have a certain level of services by the government and you want them to be better. Well, wanting to be better is good, but blaming the government, blaming the other, blaming the professor, blaming the janitor, blaming the other for this service to become good, that's very arrogant. If you want your wonderful services to be better, get your ass off your chair, go do it. And if you don't have the competence, shut up. And eat every day, put on your nice clothing in your wonderful house. Okay? You understand this? Divine justice, how arrogant humans are because they want more and more and more. I want welfare more, and I want this more, and I want that more. Of course, it would be good if, in this sense of equity, the US would have universal healthcare, for example. But that's just my opinion, because so far I see a wonderful bunch of people here from the US, very healthy, above 60 years. Yeah? So I mean, what's so dramatic, about your system that is, a handful of people playing their little sandbox with money and billions of dollars. Each grain of sand is an illusion of richness, and they want to become more rich by selling you insurances that you have trouble to pay, and then to give you mild services. Well, there was not so long ago you would just die in your house. So I mean, it depends. What do you compare yourself to? Okay, revolt is not the solution. And when more than half the population of a country goes into a state of mind, the country starts to shift. And naturally, those who are in power start to have the votes of people. They gave you what you want. So if you still have a healthcare system that is made to be financially, what's the word?
Solvent.
Solvent, yeah. It's because most of the population in the US are still greedy and unsatisfied. They don't feel gratitude. So the government and the way the healthcare system and all the different social services you have are a pure reflection of the actual state of mind of the country. Because politicians, to be elected, has to create a stimulation for the population. I want him instead of him. So you have much more powerful people in democracy that is proving that actually, if you are affected by a scandal, you are too greedy to look at yourself. Too stuck in your envy. Breathe. All right, I hope that wasn't too challenging and I won't get my ass kicked when I come out of this seminar. But a revolution is never a solution. If your life is not threatened, a revolution is not a solution. If your life is threatened, a revolution usually coming up anyway. Okay. Tzadkiel, divine justice, requires you to stop being human, to stop being selfish, and then you can start to feel, think, and walk, and act, and talk with virtue. So we'll go back to the archangelic contemplation, Tzadkiel, and feel Tzadkiel as the inspiration of absolute equity. Tzadkiel. Tzadkiel. Set things right, Tzadkiel. May the will of God be done and not mine. Divine justice. And if I have karma, may I be affected by it so I may gain the wisdom. And if I have no karma, may I be blessed and protected to equity. May I be led to equity. Tzadkiel. The state of perfection and imperfection do not exist. Perfection and imperfection do not exist. There is equity. Freedom. Tzadkiel. Tzadkiel allows you to let go of your name. Tzadkiel is accepting equity. Tzadkiel is the absence of lack and the absence of exaggeration. Tzadkiel, divine justice, is the absence of argumentation. The absence of argument. It is the absence of chains. Perfect freedom. To do whatever you want, whenever you want, while also allowing others to do the same. Allowing everyone else to do what they want when they